Hey friends, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about some of the ways that we can get still and grow closer with God. How we can rest and recharge mentally and physically. And, in today's busy world, it's so easy to get, caught up in the craziness and the shuffle, if you will. And, in that craziness, the busyness, it's very easy for us to forget who God is. And we completely leave Him out of our daily agendas sometimes. And, we don't go to Him to find the rest that we need and the help that we need to get through our days. And anxiety and overwhelm can even prevent us from seeing God in the correct sense for who He really is. And, He hasn't left us. Sometimes I feel like, we do get caught up in life and we sometimes, feel as if He's left us or that He is, forsaken us. And that's totally not the case. God is constant and He's always there with us. We just tend to stray and, forget to include Him in our plans when really He's the one that's holding our lives together anyways. So in Matthew 11:28, I've got it marked here. It actually says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." So, He actually calls us, to come to Him when we are tired, when we're exhausted, we're overwhelmed. It's so necessary that we stop being so busy and that we get still with God and spend time with Him. And, even Jesus set that example throughout the Bible, like numerous times. We see where, Jesus made time to get away from the craziness and to get quiet with God and to pray. So He's our example, as to we need to have that time where we just shut out all the craziness and get alone and quiet with God. So when we take these moments to get quiet with God, in order to be the most productive during our still moments, we have to make sure that we don't allow ourselves to get distracted by squirrel moments. And what I mean by that, it can be so difficult, but like I'll catch myself, during my time when I'm reading, I have a random thought pop into my mind, and I'll even find myself like reading the same verse over and over, and I'm like, wait, what did I just read? Because I'm like, my mind, thought about the laundry or something with work or, whatever it may be. My mind easily gets distracted. And so, I'll catch myself getting lost in random thoughts, and it's like, oh, squirrel. So, even like me, myself, I'm guilty of, I'll start my quiet time, I'll sit down to read my Bible or, work on devotions. And, before you know it, like my phone will ding, and I've gotten a text or an email, and I'll be like, oh, and I'll glance over at my phone and then I'll pick it up and check it. And before you know it, I've gone like full blown squirrel mode, and I've gotten completely sidetracked by the noise of life. And, Satan is so crafty and he's so good at distracting us, especially through, the use of social media, our phones, TVs, radios, or, music on our phone, whatever we listen to, housework, our busy work, to-do lists. We can even be a distraction to each other. And, Satan he wants to keep us distracted, and he wants to keep our focus off of God, because if he knows that he can do that, then we're not going to be productive for God. And he's going to be able to manipulate us and control our lives. So we have to remember, how crucial it is that we make time every day to shut out distractions the best we can and to get still with God. God, he has every single detail of our lives under control. So we need to chill out. Sometimes I catch myself worrying and stressing and micromanaging every little detail, and, worrying about, well, what if, I got to get this done, and, or what if this happens, or, it's like we tend to lean on our own strength, if that makes sense. And, God didn't intend for it to be that way. We don't have to constantly strive, to do life on our own. He's got us. He has it all under control. And yes, we are to, go about our day and work and carry out our to-do list and everything, and, have a plan for our days, but we can't get consumed by that and all the busyness, if you will. In Exodus 14, verses 13 and 14, I'll read that really quick. It says, "And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." So right there, it's saying, don't worry, don't stress, just stand still. God's got this. Just be quiet and sit still. And, I'm focused today, on, our to-do lists and just our crazy busy lives. And, those lists are never ending. They're always going to be there. So, get to things when you can get to them, and prioritize the things that matter the most. Then if the rest of those things get done today, then good. If not, then they can wait till the next day or even the next day. Don't procrastinate, but prioritize and, take care of the things that are pressing and matter the most today. And then everything else will just fall into place behind that. So God will help you get all of your things done in due time. So I say all that to say, if you're stressed out and, you're finding yourself just constantly in a place where, you're just overwhelmed, maybe it's that you're not taking time to slow down and get focused on God. Spend that time being still with God. And I'm saying this to myself because I'm guilty of this so often. It's okay to take a break for a little bit. It's all right. We can't just go and expect that we're not going to crash at some point. We have to take time to stop, get still for a little bit. And, how do we do this? You may be thinking, well, how in the world, what are ways I can, get still with God? It looks different for everyone. And we all have to figure out what works best for us and make that happen, make it a habit. It doesn't necessarily always mean that we're sitting still. I feel like, you can be doing something that you love while also at the same time, you're thinking about God, meditating on the scriptures, listening to worship music, whatever it may be. You have to make sure that you're finding pockets of time in your day and scheduling time to shut out the world and get quiet and focus on God and what He's telling you, and just to be more present with God. So ways that I think of that we can be still with God. Be still. Of course, sitting and being quiet and reading your Bible and praying to Him, like that's the most important thing. That's how we feed ourselves and learn, about who He is and His plan for our lives, if you will. But other ways that I've found that I can get still and quiet and have my time with God, maybe go for a walk. I don't run, but some people do. So you could go for a run, a bike ride, a hike. Those are all great ways to, get away from the chaos of life and just enjoy being in, His creation and focusing on, spending time with Him. You can sit by the pool, go to the lake, go to the beach. This past weekend, I actually got to spend majority of the day on Saturday with my husband and son, and we went to Lake Santilla and I got the paddleboard out for the first time this year, and it was so good to kick off the season at a new place. I had not been to Lake Santilla before that I knew of. And it was beautiful, and just so good to get away with them for the day. And as I'm paddling, it's so quiet, and we were together, and it's just taking in God's creation and the beauty. That's one of my happy places. So, that's one way that I love to get still, even though I'm not still, I'm still moving around, but it's like my mind is just able to relax and just think wow, look at all this beauty around, look at God's creation, and, to thank Him, thank you, God, for the ability to move our bodies and, to paddle on the water and just take it all in. So that's one of my, favorite ways to spend time with God and my family. It could be that you may just simply take a step into the next room. As a mom, there can be lots of noise in the house. Kids running around yelling, TV's on, dog might be barking, you've got laundry going, there's just lots of noise. And sometimes you get to the point where it's like sensory overload, and just simply stepping outside or step into the bathroom. A lot of the times moms find quiet time in the bathroom, and just close the door for just a minute and just enjoy, get your mind refocused on, what you're really doing, what's your purpose, and, just enjoy the presence of God for just a few moments. Sometimes it helps, if you're able, you can put on headphones with, I'll put white noise on a lot of the times in my headphones, just so, I'm still around and I can see what's going on. But sometimes it just that constant just white noise, it relaxes me. Listen to worship music. Any music that glorifies God, that puts me in a better state of mind. That can be a great thing to do. Color or work a puzzle, or find, if you're artsy like I am, do something like that while meditating on the scriptures. Or you could even listen to your favorite Christian podcast, or some preaching, whatever it may be. It's just, my point is that, getting still and making time to be present with God, it looks different for each of us. But what matters the most is that we're making this a priority, and, in some way, each and every day. And because when we don't, and we just get caught up in life, and, it's easy to be like, oh, well, I didn't get to read my devotion today. I'll just pick back up later tonight, or I'll read a little extra tomorrow morning, or I'll just, whatever, whatever the circumstance is. But it becomes easier and easier for us to put that time off. And before you know it, we're just overwhelmed. And we catch ourselves in a place where it feels like God's nowhere around. And really, He's been there the whole time. It's us that, we have not taken time to, listen to Him, get in His Word, and seek Him. And so, even if it's just a 5 to 10 minute pocket of time, that can make all the difference in the world. It's better than nothing, most definitely. So, I would say start small. Maybe you've just been in a rut and you've not been, like spending any time with Him. Start small and work your way up. And, before you know it, you're actually going to be like craving that time with Him. And so, set an alarm on your phone, mark it on your schedule just like you would any other appointment or thing that is a priority for that day. Time with God should be the top priority. And just be determined that you're not going to get distracted and let that time slip away. Reset your mind, get focused on God, grow in your relationship with Him. And, my advice will be to be obedient when He's calling you and inviting you to have time with Him. Feed yourself spiritually, rest physically, and in turn, it's going to help you mentally. Be intentional with your time with God, and allow it to shift your state of mind for the better. There's so many times that I've been stressed, or I've even said like, I don't really feel like doing my devotion today. I've got 5 million other things to do, and feeling that feeling of stress and overwhelm come on. It's like as soon as I have had my time with Him, and I've made it a point to spend time, reading my Bible or just getting quiet and reflecting, like, okay, God's got this, He's not going to leave me. He's, once I have done that, then I find that the rest of the day and all the things that I was so stressed out about having to do, it actually seems a lot smaller after I've kind of had my time to mellow out and sit with God. So just relax, dig into His Word, and, remind yourself that He has everything under control. This is a discipline that, it takes time, it takes practice. And, the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. So once you begin to make this a habit, like I said earlier, you're going to crave that still time with God more and more, and your desire to be with Him is going to grow stronger. So that's what was on my heart today. I know it wasn't much, but I hope that, it's a good reminder for me to not let the busyness of life get in the way, and to make sure that we're making time to be with God. So hopefully somebody else needed that reminder too. I guess in closing, I want to know like some of the ways that you find time to be still with God. Like I said, we're all different and it looks different for each of us. So I gave you some of the ways that I'm still with God. So I want to know, like, what do you do to get still with God and grow closer to Him? So put that in the comments below, and I'd love to talk with you. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn the bell on, and then that way you'll get notified whenever future videos come up. And yeah, so just thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. I hope it helped you in some way. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye, friend.